Hello friend, welcome back. In our previous video here, I successfully created one of the option for the new purpose. Right now, if you click as any new purpose, and here if you want to add new purpose, and after that if you click as a submit, this data will be saved. So before save, you have to understand one thing. So there have actually the two mechanism will be happen. Like if you add that new purpose, this new purpose will be saved in our this leave purposes area. That means here it will be insert, right? And also I have already declared this ID will be matched with our this employee leave table, and that is actually our leave, that is a leave purpose ID, right? So that is actually the interconnected, and also there is another option user may choose only all that existing one. That is a family problem that is already existing, right? So we have to put some of the condition when you actually insert this data. So before insert this data, I have also created one of the route. I have created one of the route for this one as a store employee leave, right? So into the add page, I have created one of the route for the store employee leave. And into the store employee leave, I have created this method as a leave store method, and that is our leave store method. So friend, that is one of the post method. So for the post, as I told you before, a lot of the time here we have to pass that request and then our request. That means a dollar request, right? So that will be as a dollar request. Perfect. So first of all, I want to put one of the condition. Okay, I want to put that condition. Better I want to put one of the note as a and method. Okay, and that means that is actually our this and method. Perfect. So I want to put on the if condition. I added on the if, and into the if condition I want to do in our requested, that means in our add page, into the add page, what data I am actually passing. So into the purposes, there is a leave purposes, I pass that our requested data, requested this field data. So I want to add this condition when this here with this request, everything will be very clear to you. It's not much complicated. So with this request, I want to get that our requested field data name. Okay, that means a leave purpose ID. When this leave purpose ID will be as equal 0. Okay, I want to make it as a 0. Because of all here, I have also passed one of the ID. You can see I passed that ID, and also I pass another value as a 0. Right, so the when it will be as a 0, that means automatically that will be activated as a new purpose is activated, right? So now I put that condition. As I told you, they have the two options. User may choose this one rather than user may choose this one. Okay, that means this one. So that is actually the two things. When it will be as equal 0, I want to add this data in our leave purposes. So here I take one of the variable as a whatever you choose. I name it as a leave purpose. Okay, leave purpose, this type of one of the variable, and then new our table name, that means a model name, our model as a leave purpose, right? So that is a leave purpose means I have already created one of the table, and that is our table as a leave purpose table. So perfect. So now I create one of the object for this. So that is our leave purpose. I simply create this object. And here after that with this leave purpose, okay, leave purpose. So there is a with this leave purpose, and then I want to access our all that field name. That means right now, first of all, that is the input field name. That means when it will be as a 0, as I told you, when it will be as a 0, that means this one will be activated, and when it will be activated, that means this data will be insert from our this input field. Right, so this input field name, as I name it as a name. So right now with this request name, I want to pass it. So this name will be our requested name. That means the request and then our name. Okay, so I simply pass it, and after that I want to save this data. So with this leave purpose, I want to save this data. Perfect. Okay. And here I want to add that our this ID. That means here I also pass that our requested as this one. That is our leave purpose select form. That is a form name. I name it as a leave purpose ID. So this leave purpose ID. Okay, so this leave purpose ID will be what? This leave purpose ID then will be actually our this leave purpose ID. Okay, that means this leave purpose ID. So with this leave purpose, I want to access this ID. Okay, so that's all. That's all we have to do. That means this sleep purpose ID means actually then it should be actually this ID, okay, rather than it should be our this ID. So that's all we have to do. So I put it and else, okay, I put as a else, and else it should be, as I told you, else our this sleep purpose will be what? Else our this sleep purpose will be our requested one. That means if you go to our here, our requested field name as a this purpose ID, that means this one, right? So that is our requested one, rather than our ID will be as a request, our requested into the requested, that is our ID, so that will be our this ID. Okay, as I told you, when it will be selected as a 0, then that will be our, it should be using our this ID, that means this sleep purpose this ID, rather than it should be insert our this sleep purpose ID. Okay, so here I simply pass it, that is our requested one. Perfect. And after that we have to insert all the data in our this table, that means the employee leaves table, right? So into the employee leaves table, if you want to insert that is our and else, and after that, okay, I take another variable as a data. So with this data, first of all, create that object, the same procedure. So if you want to insert this data in our this table as a employee leave table, I have also created another model, a model name as a employee leave. So now I copy it. So now first of all, I create one of the object as a employee leave, and then with this data I want to access our ID, that means our field name as a employee ID. So employee ID will be what? Employee ID will be our requested ID, so that means that is actually requested ID. So now our employee ID, so this ID will be our requested, so requested employee ID. Maybe I did the same name. If you go there, there is a leave purpose, start date, and here you can see there is an employee ID, so I name it as a employee ID. So that will be our this requested employee ID. Perfect. And then another one, I take that data. So with this data, there is our another field. If you go, another field is a leave purpose ID, right? Leave purpose ID will be what? Leave purpose ID will be what of the ID actually pass it from here. So that will be our leave purpose ID. Into the database field as a leave purpose ID will be our this one, rather than that will be our this table ID, rather than it should be our this requested ID, right? So that means list purposes ID. I take both of this with this variable, that means that will be our this one. So I simply pass it. Perfect. And then our rest of this, another one as a data. With this data, our database field name as a start date. I copy that start date, and start date will be, you can also use that as a date format, but I will use that date. Okay, date format as a year, and then date or month. Okay, month and then date, and also after that the star to time, and then the start to time will be our this requested part. That means here with this request I want to pass our requested a start date. I name the same. If you go, you can see the start that name as a start date. So now that will be our requested one. I hope it's very much clear to you. And then I also want to take another one, that will be as a end date, right? So that is our end date. I copy it, so that will be as a end date, and our date format will be same. Into the requested I also pass as a end date, that is our requested field name. So now I simply pass it. Okay, after that I want to save this data. So with this data I want to save. Perfect. On it will be saved. If you want to show some of the message with the toaster, you can use it. So I use a lot of the time here, but I want to take something from our another controller. If you go to another controller, I have used a lot of the time. That is our student controller. Here I didn't use it. That is our exam fee. Bullshit. I didn't find out this. So that is our setup. Into the setup, if you go here, that is the controller. Where exactly it? You can see that is actually the things. Okay, So here I want to copy it. So rather than I copy it, so that is our notification actually. Okay, so I copy it, and after that, that will be the same. This will be show some of the message as a this will be display as a employee leave data. Okay, I name it as a employee leave data inserted successfully. This type of one of the messages will be displayed, and after that it will be return redirect to our route, our web route. I have created already the view page as a employee leave view page. Here it will be redirected, right? So now I simply pass it into the employee leave view page with the notification. Perfect. So friend, that's all we have to do. I think every part is very much clear to you. So if everything okay, it should be inserted this data perfectly. Okay, now let's check this out. If you now click as a save all, I click as a save all. So I want to check both of these. One will be as a direct one, and rather than it will be as a our requested one. Okay, now click as a save all. Now go there, click as a refresh. So right now I want to insert another employee data, that means the test user. So for the test user, that actually the leave started from 22, okay, 22 to the 24 or 25. I mark that one, and the purposes. So there is a family problem, there is a personal problem, and I now want to create another new one. Okay, I created a new one. I name it as a health problem. Okay, I name it as a health problem. So now it should be inserted with this health problem. That will be also inserted in particular that area, and also it should be inserted all the data in here. Now let's check this out. If you now click as a submit, so now it's creating default object from empty value. Okay, so in our empty, there is an employee leave controller 53. So now let's check this out. Maybe I did something spelling mistake, or rather than it's look like condition is appropriate. Okay, its condition is look like appropriate, and then that is the employee ID, there is a name, there is a leave purpose. You can see I use it as a actually date, so that will be obviously as a data, right? There is actually variable mistakes, so that will be as a data. Okay, with this data we have to pass all that our the purpose ID, there is a date, start date, and the end date. So here I actually put some of the spelling mistake. I think you understand that part. So now let's check this out. As I told you friend, if you face any issues, don't worry about it, we'll solve it. Okay, so now I updated, and now let's check this out again. First of all, I want to check my database. Is there any data inserted or not? You can see data is inserted. So right now I remove it. Okay, remove it, and here you can see here it not inserted because of all actually I put some of the spelling mistakes. So right now I want to check it again, because a refresh. So now I want to select this user as a test user. I select as a one of the new problem, and I just name it as a friend problem. Okay, I create one of the new problem as a friend problem. So now I use that start date. I make it as a 22, and I make it as a 25. Okay, so that will be our new one. Now click as a submit. Yes, you can see it's perfectly inserted. That is the employee leave data inserted successfully. So it's perfectly getting our user, that means the test username, ID is not visible, maybe I did something wrong, and there is a purposes. You can see it's not perfectly getting that purposes problem, and start date for this leave and the end date. If you now go to our database, into the database, now there's a browse. Yeah, you can see there is a friend problem is successfully inserted. If you go there, click as a insert. Yes, you can see there is an employee ID, and as I told you, that is one of the foreign key of our this purpose, that means the leave purpose. You can see there is a ID as a 5, and this 5 ID as our leave purpose ID. Perfect, right? So right now you can insert it, but why our ID is not visible? Now go to our, that is in our view page. So into the view page, maybe I did something wrong. There is our ID, so you can see I use that ID underscore name, that will be as the ID underscore number maybe. So that is actually ID underscore number. I remember, you can see there is a ID underscore number, not the name. That will be as a ID underscore number, NO. Okay, so now it should be visible. Now click the save all. Now go there, refresh it. Yeah, it's now perfectly getting that our number. I hope it's very much easy to you right now, friends. If you now can add another employee, so I add another employee as a Hassan, and I make it, you can see is right now that is also loaded. There is a friend problem. Now I want to do I can actually use the same, that means this one, rather than you can use that new one. I name it as a health. Okay, I name it as a health problem right now again, and now I put that as a job. That means the leave will be started from to the 25 and to the 30. Okay, so I make it as a 30. So that will be new one, should be now loaded as a health problem. So now if you click as a submit, yeah, employee inserted successful. That is our another user, and that is our health problem, another health problem issues. That is started date, there is a form date, there is a ID. That means everything is great, right, friend? So now I want to actually edit it and then delete it. So step by step everything I will show you with the live example. Okay, so here we successfully complete our insert portion. So right now you can assign some of the employee for the leave. Okay, so in our next video I want to discuss about that edit and update portion, then we will complete that delete portions. Okay, so thanks for watching. I will see you in the next video.